Welcome to my video. This is Ramya. This video is about India's role in global trade organizations, that is WTO, IMF and World Bank. Let's dive into this topic. World Trade Organizations WTO, established 1995. Purpose: oversees global trade rules, resolves trade disputes and aims to reduce trade barriers. Key functions: facilitating negotiations on trade agreements, monitoring trade policies and providing a platform for dispute resolution. Number of countries associated: 164 countries as of 2024. Recent focus: addresses e-commerce, digital trade and global supply chain challenges. India's role in the World Trade Organization till 2024. Founding member, actively contributed to the creation of the WTO in 1995 as a founding member. Promotion of multilateral trade. India has supported initiatives to promote multilateral trade agreements focusing on inclusive growth for developing economies. E-commerce and digital trade. Calls for a comprehensive approach to regulate e-commerce, ensuring that developing countries are not left behind in the digital economy. Dispute resolution contributions. India has actively used the WTO's dispute settlement mechanism to address trade issues and ensures compliance with global trade norms. Role in trade negotiations. India plays active role in WTO negotiations, especially concerning trade in services, agriculture and industrial goods. Support least developed countries, LDCs. India advocates for special trade benefits for LDCs, ensuring they get favorable terms in global trading system. Analysis of the graph. Exports. The blue line represents. The exports start at approximately $325 billion in 2019. There is a dip in 2020, reflecting a decline to around $300 billion, likely caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on global trade. A gradual recovery can be seen from 2021 onwards, with exports steadily increasing year by year, reaching around $355 billion in 2024. Imports. Red line indicates import begin at $500 billion in 2019, significantly higher than the exports. Similarly to exports, there is a sharp decline in the 2020, dropping to around $350 billion again and reflecting the impact of the global economic slowdown during the pandemic. After 2020, imports recover quickly, showing a step to rise by year. By 2024, imports have surpassed $500 billion, returning to pre-pandemic levels. The detailed description of the graph. International Monetary Fund IMF, established 1944. Purpose: promotes international monetary cooperation, ensures exchange rate stability and provides financial assistance to member countries in need. Key functions: monitoring global economic trends, offering financial support to countries facing balance of payments problems, providing technical assistance and conducting research on global economic issues. Number of countries associated with global trade organizations: 119 number of countries as of 2024. Recent focus. The IMF's recent focus is on addressing global economic challenges including inflation, debt management and sustainable growth, while supporting recovery efforts in vulnerable economics. India's role in IMF. Founding member. India is a key member of the International Monetary Fund, contributed to financial stability. India actively participates in IMF programs and provides financial resources to support global economic stability. Voice for developing economics. India advocates for the interest of developing countries, pushing for greater representation and influence in IMF policies. Advocacy for capital flow management. India supports IMF policies that help emerging markets manage volatile capital flows and protect economic stability. Global economic reforms. India supports reforms within the IMF, including the call for greater representation of emerging economies in its governance structure. Promotion of regional cooperation. India emphasizes regional cooperation through the IMF to address specific regional economic challenges and foster collective growth. This graph represents the IMF financial assistance. From 2019 to 2020, financial assistance dropped from approximately 3.6 billion USD to 2.6 billion USD. This reflects a decline in support, possibly due to reduced external borrowing needs or India's limited reliance on the IMF during this period. 2024 till a steady increase in the financial assistance, raising around 3.8 billion USD by 2024. This suggests growing support for economic stabilization and growth initiatives, especially during post-pandemic recovery. GDP growth rate. From 2019 to 2020, a sharp decline in GDP growth from about 6% in 2019 to a contraction of 2020. Negative growth possibly around -7%. 2020 to 2024. After the contraction in 2020, the GDP growth rate rebounds sharply to around 6% in 2021 and rises steadily to 8% in 2024, indicating a strong recovery and economic expansion. The detailed description of the graph. World Bank. Established 1944. Purpose: provides financial and technical assistance for development projects aimed at promoting sustainable economic development. Key functions: offering loan, grants and expertise for development projects in sectors like education, health, infrastructure and agriculture. Number of countries associated with global trade: 189 member countries. Recent focus: the World Bank's recent focus is on promoting poverty reduction and sustainable development through the infrastructure, education and health initiatives. India's role in World Bank. Major borrower. India is one of the largest borrowers of World Bank funds, supporting infrastructure, education and healthcare projects. Infrastructure growth. Works with World Bank on the large-scale infrastructure projects such as roads, railways and urban development. Founding member. India is a founding member of the World Bank, actively participating in its policy making and governance. Disaster reliance. Collaborates on project disaster risk management and climate resilient infrastructure. Policy influencer. Contributes to shaping World Bank strategies reflecting the priorities of developing nations. Partner in global goals. Collaborates with World Bank to achieve Sustainable Development Goals SDGs, including poverty reduction and climate action. This represents the World Bank financial assistance. The purple line represents 2019. The financial assistance starts at around $2.5 billion, indicating moderate funding levels during this year. In 2020, the large sharp increase approximately to 3.5 billion, reflecting that funding to mitigate the impacts of COVID-19 pandemic. 2021 to 2022, the growth continuously and steadily, with the assistance reaching approximately $4.5 billion by 2020. This indicates sustained support for economic recovery. 2023 to 2024 represents the financial assistance plateaus slightly, stabilizing at $5 billion in 2024, suggesting that funding reached a peak to align with long-term strategic projects, and development project funded represents the orange line. In 2019, starts at $120 billion. In 2020 to 2022, a steady increase in development projects funding aligns with the rise in financial assistance, indicating that additional resources were directed towards critical infrastructure, healthcare and education sectors. In 2023 to 2024, World Bank reaches $170 billion, reflecting an approximate 42% increase over the 6-year period. The detailed description of the graph. This graph represents India's and world's growth in digital exports. The insights from the graph. This graph represents India's and other countries' imports and exports in dollars. Context of the graph. Conclusion. Regarding India's role in World Trade Organization, active advocate for developing nations, supporter for multilateral trade, and focus on economic growth. Thank you.